taking courses, I see this all the time where people feel like they're getting their learn on and they feel like that's progressing them forward. But learning is only useful if it's backed by implementation. The guy, he went to one of the big grocery store chains. He's now a billionaire. He went to the manager of the local place and said, "What are people always asking you guys about that you don't do?" And his answer was key duplication. Hardest things you can fucking do in business is begin to value your time enough where you do not talk to anybody who is lower than a 7 about like doing some kind of work together collaboration. And what you'll find is you get cooler people out of it. I think we need to rock it out more these days. I think so, anyway. Good seeing you guys. Yeah, we're live. All right. Enough shenanigans. Let's get into the good stuff. So, first and foremost, I just want to give you guys a quick little announcement that we got some cool shit coming down the pipeline. I'm really excited to share with you. I'm just looking at more and more ways to help you guys make this cool. Inside of the mastermind, we're beta testing right now, a done-for-you component, which is a mixture of two things, which I call shoe store outreach, which is connecting with all the movers and shakers in the industry, rather than like trying to, if you say you're in the dental industry, rather than chasing dentists one-to-one, is connect with the top dental podcast, the top dental software, the top dental conference, the top dental community owners and things like that. I found that a much, much faster way to move the needle. And so we're creating a done for you. And the way you get in with those people, by the way, for those of you guys wondering, is really simple, is you just do cool, helpful shit for them. So that's the done for you part, is that it's like it's actually work helping those people out, and we're just doing that automatically. That's the first thing. Second thing is we're working to help you guys get content. I'm a bigger believer, like nobody really talks about this in the industry, but I'm a bigger believer in having inbound come to you, where people come to you and you're the heart surgeon. They say, "Can you help me, doc?" And not like, "Hey, door-to-door salesman, digital door knocker," as I call it, with all the mass outreach. And people are kind of cold and skeptical. There's a very different vibe when somebody comes to you and says, "Can you help me?" So building out the content machine that does that. So you just got to record an hour of answering questions each week, or each month. And then we turn that into your content for the entire month and bring people to you in a pull kind of way, not just in a push kind of way. So that part is happening. Also working on beta testing as well. We're using two different services, a Filipino and an American one that we're testing. And it is for the idea that, like, so many of you guys deal with clients say, "All your fucking leads are shit." And it's because they suck at the phone, they can't answer questions. Well, we found there's lots of different ways to deal with it, but I found nothing better than actually having a trained person who knows sales answer the phone, just book it in the client's calendar. Usually once they meet people face to face, they're not so bad. Like if you try and call a roofer, they'll probably screw that deal up. But once they're face to face with somebody, they actually know what they're talking about because they're good at fixing roofs. Or a dentist, they may suck at answering the phone, but once somebody comes in and says, "My tooth hurts," they know what to do from there. So we're testing that out at we've got a couple of beta testers in that, and I'm hoping that the beta tests go well and that we can mass share these with you guys so that you guys can plug and play these services and actually have your own American or Filipino, depending on which price point you want to go, call centers where you just have to pay per booked appointment that you actually get into a client's calendar so that they stay and pay and they stop leaving you and blaming the leads. So I'm excited to unveil those kind of things for you guys. Those are kind of all in the pipeline. None of those are ready today, but I just want to give you guys an idea of what's coming down the road. In the meantime, let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. Ba-dum-bum-bum. You're all in it for the big dad muscles, I know it. Try and act not impressed. It cannot be done. All right, let's get into building and growing some agencies. You guys are up to some cool shit. Let's talk about it. Ian says, "Hello, my fellow agency owners. Just curious, how is everyone keeping track of the salesperson in your agency in terms of commission, incentives, clawback, KPI, etc.? Usually, Ian, I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but the simplest, easiest way to do it is drive some sort of inbound through paid ads, schedule it on a calendar, and put it on your salesperson's calendar, and then you just pay them per set close. And I'll tell you, I look for two things when I've hired salespeople. One, obviously, can they close? Like, obviously, you're not gonna have a salesperson that can't get deals. But the second piece is actually, do they set deals? Like, do they make promises that you're actually going to be able to fulfill on? So a lot of times they set expectations of like, you're going to be an overnight millionaire once we click run on the SEO campaign, and in reality it might take 8 months to actually get them to number one, and so that person can't possibly be happy after the fact. So that's the other thing I look for, is are they setting it up to be a win-win? But if you nail those two things into salespeople, you're going to win. And then usually it's anywhere from like $500 to $1,000 per signed deal for a salesperson. Sometimes you can pay a salary if you want. I am personally a believer in paying my salespeople well, because I want my people to like win as I win, and I want like to create these win-win environments. So I tend to lean more towards the 1,000 as we've had salespeople, or like higher amounts than industry average. But that's just a personal preference. I'm not telling you what you have to do. I'm just telling you 500 to 1,000 is pretty standard on that, like, signing clients. So hope that's helpful, because that saves you a lot of like trying to figure out commissions and clawbacks and KPIs. Oh, and the only KPI that really matters usually is you're looking for a salesperson to close 1 in 5 calls, and that may be lower than what you're actually closing yourself in your agency. Like, if I jump on the phone with a lawyer, I can close 80 to 90% of them. That's not saying that like I can close 80 to 90% of anybody. It's just that market. I just know a lot about them and what they're thinking and what they're going through and all that kind of stuff. But having said that, I don't expect a salesperson to be 80, 90%. I expect them to be 20, 30%. And if they can do 20, 30%, the math will still work in your business. So hope that's helpful, my man. Lachlan, cool name, by the way. Any courses in marketing anybody recommends, short courses or anything online? All right. Big Daddy here is going to get on his soapbox and rant. There are a lot of good courses out there. There's probably a lot of shitty courses in comparison, volume, to the number of good ones. But one of the worst things that you can do is get into a habit of consuming courses and feeling like you're fucking doing something. I'm not against courses. In fact, I actually love courses. But don't consume a course for the sake of consuming a course. Consume a course when you have a very specific roadblock in your business, and that course will help you address that roadblock. For example, let's say you suck at Google Ads and you want to run some Google Ads. Well, then a course on Google Ads can help you get unstuck in that game. So I'm all for that kind of Google Ads course. But what I'm not for, I'm sorry, let me just see I'm trying to change my comment mode. Whoops. What I'm not for is taking a course just to take a course and feel like you're doing something. Like, I see these people, like life coaches all the time. They just want to be certified and certified and certified, and they never fucking feel ready to work with a client. So courses help when you have a specific thing in mind you're trying to do. Or like there's a new cool thing you're actually trying to learn and you're going to go do something with. You'll notice actually when I do courses, they're usually mini courses and they're designed for people to do shit with them. Like, I'm not a fan of like this 40 module. Like, I actually had somebody who gave me a course on how they were blowing up their Twitter, and they gave it to me for free, and they sent it over, and I was like super thankful, and I got into it, and it was fucking 80 hours. Homeboy ain't got 80 hours to read your Twitter thing. Like, summarize it in fucking 10 to 60 minutes or 2 hours, but like, get to the fucking point. Just tell me how to do the thing. Don't like give me a background. It was like, it gave me all the basic steps of like, here's how to set up a Twitter account. It took like an hour just to do that, and I was like, I'm bored by it. I can't do it. So if you're gonna take courses, do them fucking strategically because you intend to do something with them. Don't take courses for the sake of taking courses. I see this all the time where people feel like they're getting their learn on and they feel like that's progressing them forward. But learning is only useful if it's backed by implementation. So only do shit if you intend to actually do something with it. There's my rant. Take courses, but only if you're gonna fucking use them, because otherwise they don't really do much for you. Drew says, I gotta jump on a call in a minute, so I'll watch the replay later, but I was gonna wonder if you could answer 2 questions. One, from cold prospect to a back-end revenue share completed and paid, including tests, What's a general timeline for those kind of deals? Two, we see a bunch of top-line Stripe screenshots out there, but could you give a general framework of what an agency looks like, take-home amounts? Just listen to Frankie, bro. My man, as long as you're building me up, you can do this all day. It's good for the ego. All right, so firstly, cold to done deal, a revenue share. Realistically, by the way, the answer is about a week. A week from like you send a message, they agree to say to do it, you set up the test, and now you're going to get paid or not paid. It does not have to be a long thing. And I'll tell you why. It really boils down to this simplicity is, number one, is when people usually chase deals, it essentially boils down to pay me, and then I'm going to do something for you. And when you do a revenue share deal, you reverse that paradigm where you say, I'm going to do something for you, and when it works, you can pay me. Right? So the deals themselves are a lot easier to get. The biggest thing that can screw up revenue share deals, by the way, is like 99% of success in a revenue share deal, in my opinion, is client selection. Choosing the right people. Like you have to, and we've got a 6-point framework for you, Drew, inside of the revenue share course that lays that out, what those things are. But if you choose the wrong people, like usually the most common thing is either won't work or they won't pay you and things like that, or you're just going to go after people that are like small potatoes. So that kind of leads into the second question is, as a general rule, this is like not a hard and fast rule. This is more just like a recommendation. But I recommend that if you are going to try and get revenue share clients, that you aim for at least $10K per month per client, which usually means you're going to have to generate them about $30K in sales or more. Now, having said that, again, this is about client selection, right? So what you want to do is what most people think is they're going to go after this small struggling business and blow their shit up with marketing. Revenue share is largely helping winners win more. So one of the people, by the way, that I've proposed a revenue share deal, and it's kind of been like, it's a little slower than I'd like. It's probably been a year in the making, but I've been working with Jay Abraham and his team on doing a revenue share deal. Now, this is what I want you to think about. I'm selling Jay Abraham courses to Jay Abraham's audience using Jay Abraham's copy and messaging, right? So, but when you think about it, they have like 20,000 course buyers for a $6,000 course. So like, it's not like I'm starting from nothing. The opposite, like even if I just move the needle 1%, you gotta believe there's 30 grand in there that I could take home 10K from and not have any pushback about it. So when you think about that, where people get this wrong is they chase these little deals, but what you wanna do is focus on winners winning more, where even if you just move the needle 1, 5, 10%, it's going to be a big payday for you. So that's kind of like a general rule that I focus on, is like 10K is the minimum starting point. Now, when you think about Jay's case, like 10K is actually a small estimate. Is it because Frankie Finn's awesome? No. It's because he's already got an audience of people who know, like, and trust him and love him and been following 40 years. 2, he's already got asset. He's got courses and training and materials. He's got stuff to sell them. 3, they got the marketing assets to sell them. There's sales letters and copy and testimonials and things like that. So it's really just a matter of tweaking an offer, sending out a campaign, collect it, close it. Everybody gets high fives and thumbs up. So I want you to think about revenue share deals like that. Usually what people do is intuitively think about broke, struggling businesses, and it's more about helping winners win more. In fact, agency work, lo and behold, largely is about helping winners win more. There's a thing in there that I had to break years ago. It's the savior mentality, and the savior mentality is like really, really simple, is a lot of times you intuitively recognize that if a business implemented all your marketing stuff, it would blow up and become massively more successful. And so there's a tendency to want to offer it to struggling businesses and help them blow up. And I read a really fucking interesting stat the other day, okay? And I shared this actually with our mastermind folks because it really illustrates the point. Because any of you guys out there watch Kitchen Nightmares? For those of you guys who don't, it's a Gordon Ramsay thing. He goes into these kind of struggling restaurants that are having all these difficulty, and he changes the decor and he changes the menu, and he usually has like a real deep heart-to-heart talk with the owner. And then at the end of it, he leaves after like a week or two, and they document the whole process. Well, here's the shocking stat, okay? 19 out of 20 of those restaurants that Gordon Ramsay helps go out of business. It's somewhere between 90 and 95%. So maybe it's like 18. But by and large, these people were losing before Gordon Ramsay showed up, and they get the help from the best, most famous chef in the world, and they still fucking lose, right? So even when Gordon Ramsay tries to be the savior, he's batting 5 or 10%. So if I could just give you guys one idea that like will change your fucking life, is start thinking about working with bigger, more successful clients. And almost always the reason people don't are twofold, which are reasons between the ears. Reason number one is they think, I'm not ready to work with that caliber of client, which is not true. It's bullshit, by the way. And a reason number two, they think, oh, they already have it figured out. And really, in reality, it's the opposite, because they have more stuff to manage. Now they're running TikTok, and they have a YouTube ads person. They're running Google and retargeting, and who's on top of the social media, and we got a podcast going, and we need help editing it. And like, there's all kinds of fucking help these people need. So if you think about aiming your stuff at bigger, more successful people, both in terms of retainer stuff and revenue share deal, watch your agency flourish, because you'll align yourself with people who are already winning before you. In fact, just a little story about the not feeling ready. I remember my first consulting deal was a big lawyer in Jacksonville, Florida. There's a pair of brothers that are like the biggest lawyers in the whole area, and they just spend a bazillion on marketing and advertising, and they're on every TV commercial and billboard. And they're doing 9 figures. They are a $100 million per year law firm. And they brought me in to consult with them about SEO. And I remember thinking, who am I and what the fuck am I going to tell a company that's doing $100 million that they don't already know? And you get in there and you realize the whole thing is this. Just like any big corporate field, there's too many meetings. It's a clusterfuck. It's inefficient. There's like little bickering in there. And, oh, he only got promoted because Susie and him go golfing and drinking on the weekends. And they're all this kind of like cliques and bullshit. And so you realize they actually need more help, not less. And there's a tendency to think because, oh, they're 10 levels above me, like, I ain't ready to work with somebody who's 10 levels above me. And what you'll find is it's actually the opposite. Those are the people who need your help the most. So I say this because that's what success and revenue share deal is. Thinking about doing this for $100 million companies or $10 million companies or even $1 million companies, and not thinking about how am I going to help the broke, struggling pastry shop. Like, by and large, the more you let go of this savior mentality, I'm not saying you have it, Drew. I'm just saying I had it, and I recognize it in a lot of people. The better and faster you'll do in this business, because you'll just go, I'm just going to help winners win more. In fact, one of the easiest signs that you're going to help them win is they were already winning before you showed up, right? And I don't mean winners in like life, because life has a lot of nuance to it. I mean winners simply in the game of business, right? You help. There's a lot of good people that do not succeed in the game of business, but if they're winning at the game of business, help them win more. If they're losing at the game of business, do not try to be the savior, because Gordon Ramsay can't help restaurants at more than 10% succeed. So what makes you think you're going to do anything different? So hope that's helpful. Good quality rant, I feel. Lachlan says, if you were stripped of all your contacts, your portfolio, your experience, and everything you had, but you still have the knowledge you had today, what would be the first thing you would do? I'm 19, got no experience or qualifications, ready to begin. What is recommended? Okay, just so you know, when I first started Lachlan, I had a mastermind of 2 with a friend of mine named Dan. And Dan and I met inside of a Black Hat forum for ranking websites. We were talking about all the evil things that you should do in Google, or you shouldn't do in Google, but they actually work. We were talking about all those things. And what blew my mind is I found out Dan was, when he started, he was 15 years old, and businesses were paying him $2K per month per client. And Dan is like a short guy. He's like 5'3" now. And so, like, even though he was 15, he looked like 11, right? Like, he looked like a 10-year-old. And people were sending money to a 10-year-old looking guy, $2,000 a month. And I don't mean like 1 or 2 of them. Like, he had a very full client roster. And I always blew my mind with what's possible. So I'll tell you the biggest reason, in my opinion, that people struggle is because when they take step one about themselves, and they immediately create the uphill boulder. Let me give you an example of what I mean. This is a story I've kind of beat up a little bit, but it makes the point. So my hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Canada, there are a shitload of auto body shops, places that fix up cars after they've been in an accident. And I was actually visiting my brother, and him and his wife were having like a big old bickering argument, and they ordered Chinese food. Guy knocks on the door. This whole drama because he showed up right in the middle of the fight. They bought the Chinese food. Like 5 minutes later, the Chinese driver knocks on the door again. It's like, what happened? Did you forget an egg roll or something? Did Confucius give you some kind of like life-saving thought? But instead he had backed up into my brother's car, and my brother's car backed up into my girlfriend's car. And I was like, holy shit, like, dude, like, were you texting? Like, man, like, the hell, that's so that he caused like $5,000 or $10,000 worth of damage. Now, as part of the insurance process, they make you go to 3 auto body shops. Now, in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, there are too many auto body shops to begin with. And I think the reason is, if I had to guess, is somebody starts an auto body shop and thinks, I am fucking sick of working for some other asshole boss. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to be my own man. I'm going to do my own thing. The problem with that is the market does not need more auto body shops. So we brought them to 3 different places, and all 3 of them said, you have a Volkswagen. It has specialty parts and stuff. We do not work on Volkswagens. There is a guy on Drouillard Road. I want you to go to him because he's the Volkswagen specialist. So we ended up going to him, and he said, I have a month wait. I'll be anywhere from like 2 to 4 weeks to fix this thing. I'm booked out for a while. Talk to your insurance company, hand them this information. They'll get you a loaner car. We'll get it fixed up. And he eventually, like, I don't know, it's a couple of weeks, but he fixed the car and everything was good. Now, what is the difference? I tell you the story. What is the difference between starting an auto body shop and an auto body shop for Volkswagen? To me, it's like a 10% difference. But here's the difference, and this is a key insight, okay, is the guy who starts the auto body shop has only 100% selfish reasons to be in business. I don't want to work for someone else, so I'm going to start my own place. But it does not matter to him that the fucking market does not need another auto body shop. Now, I want you to compare that to the 10% shift where I'm the auto body shop specialized in Volkswagens, where there is a legitimate, real marketing need. And what happens for this guy? He gets business without even trying, even without a marketing plan, because there's a real, legitimate need. So this is my way of saying, if I had to start over and do nothing, first thing I would do is choose a group of people, like a niche, an audience, a person you want to specialize, and I would spend the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days reading everything I could read about them. Read their comments. Like, you can join communities and read them talking to each other. If you want to work with dentists, read all the shit dentists are bitching about. Right? And see where they're stuck and see what they want and build your business out of their needs. Again, there's only a 10% difference between we do SEO and we do SEO for Volkswagen, right? So, but you'll make your life so much fucking easier if your business has legitimate market reasons to exist. Now, having said that, can you have selfish reasons in business? Of course! We all fucking do, right? But you can't have only selfish reasons. Like, the guy who starts his auto body shop starts it for him and no one else. He has not thought about what do people actually fucking need and want. And so I feel like too many people take a course on SEO, take a course on web design, get a training on Facebook ads, and then go and try and sell Me Too offers, shit that everybody else has, and makes shit so much harder, and you don't fucking need to do that. Just spend a little bit of time researching your market and think about how I can really fucking help fill needs. Nothing will get you paid faster and for longer than filling real, legitimate market needs. I'm going to give you one more example of this. So there was a guy, he went to one of the big grocery store chains. He's now a billionaire. He went to the manager of the local place and said, what are people always asking you guys about that you don't do? And his answer was key duplication. You know, like when you need to get a copy of your key made for your house or whatever. So he went and started a key duplication business, and he created this little kiosk, and he went to the grocery store and said, I started a key duplication business. Can we just put it in the corner of your store so that when people ask, do you get keys made? We can send them over here. And the guy said, absolutely. Well, he eventually, just so you know, sold that to like every single grocery store chain across the country. He went to all of them and said, everybody's asking you about key duplication. And why did it work? Because it was market driven. So that's the key distinction is people always start with their thing first. I'm an auto body shop. I do SEO, I do web design, and not enough with Who are these fucking people and what do they want? And I swear you'll make your life so much easier if you deeply and fully answer that question and then build your thing. And almost always, it's not a big shift. There's not a giant deal of difference between SEO and SEO for Volkswagen. But there's a huge difference in payday, right? Like the auto body shop that just started for selfish reasons, he's fucking like broke and struggling. And the guy who does a Volkswagen has a month waiting list to work with him because he's the only one who fucking does what he wants to do. Ideally, I call this a mini monopoly, but you want to put yourself in a category of one where you're the only one who does what you do. And like I said, it's usually a 10% shift. So I hope that's helpful for you starting over. Pick a niche of people, learn everything you can about them, and then actually fill real legitimate market needs. Your life will get easier. Sean says, anyone in here running an offer that's pay on performance for your clients and you have sales reps closing deals? Firstly, if you want to do pay per lead, I'm going to recommend you a group. A friend of mine, Dan Wardrope, who will probably see you next upcoming week, they have an entire group dedicated to selling pay per lead. We do revenue share deals as well. We've got a course on it. The last year for me has been the dabble in phase where I'm starting to do mergers and acquisitions, doing more revenue share deals, doing more licensing, and pushing the envelope of what's possible with different business models. And I'll tell you, like, revenue share deals, one of my favorite, because it's so easy to get. You get to pick and choose the clients. They're not hard to get. And if you know what to look for in a client, like you can like almost win all day, every day. Now, having said that, we don't close those with the salespeople, and I'll tell you why. What we're doing with a revenue share is different than what most people are doing. Is I'm selling their stuff to their audience with their list using their shit. Now, a lot of times you think, why would they do that? Well, almost always what happens, by the way, you'll see this with like somebody who's been around and wrote a book and does courses and conferences and things like that, is they sold a course for like 3 months, it did really well, and then eventually they just forgot about it and moved on. It's like if you take that off the shelf and help them resell something that's working, that's like all bonus money. That's what a mentor of mine calls Marilyn Monroe money. That's extra money they don't have to do anything for. So if you say, hey, I'm going to be a source of extra, unfound, forgotten money, people are going to pay you for that all day, every day. So that's the difference between like pay per lead and revenue share deal. Having said that, a lot of people who do pay per lead, you don't really need to sell pay per lead with a salesperson either, because like the offer sells itself. Like, we'll get you leads and just pay for it when it works. How about you start with a package of 10? And as long as you know your costs in delivering that, you can do that. But I'm a bigger fan, the longer I do this, of doing revenue share deals where you're selling to a warm audience, not trying to convert cold traffic. And I'll tell you, the reason why everybody gets obsessed with cold traffic is if you talk to 100 business owners and say, what do you need? 99 of them are going to say, I need more new business. They're going to say that magic word new. And they're not lying to you. They believe that. But if you can just recognize that's an assumption that's not true, and they have not fully optimized something that comes after. I'll give you an example of this. Mark Diodati did this brilliantly. So he's in the HVAC space, and he was starting with like trying to sell all these people Facebook ads because he's told, they told him, I need more leads, I need more new people. I asked him, he actually spent 15 years working in HVAC, and I said, Mark, like, what did you do in HVAC? And he said, I closed sales. And I said, were you any good? And he said, I was the best. And I said, how? Like, how were you the best? And he said, well, everyone thought it was like the script and they focused on all the wrong things. I just noticed that if I went and pitched 10 people an HVAC thing, 3 of them bought it and 7 of them didn't. And so I would just call those 7 turndowns like a week or 2 later and ask, like, was it the money? Was it the service? Did you not like me? Is there anything I could have done to win your business? And they would almost always say, like, it was some kind of price thing, like, oh, I need payment terms, or it was like that was $1,000 more than I wanted to pay. And so he would get an extra 1 or 2 deals extra out of those turndowns. And I said, why don't you do that as your service? Like, if these people already have 100 incoming deals and they're only closing 30, the opportunity to like just punch in the 70 that are like close to the end zone already is way better deal than like trying to get cold leads off of Facebook who have no idea who the fuck you are, but rather focus on the people who've already actually had a sales presentation made to them and are close to buying but have some unresolved thing. And you could even do it on commission where it's a no-brainer. And he put that offer out there and like literally had like 20 new clients in a week. That's how easy it can be with the right kind of like offer on like pay-per-performance kind of revenue share deal. So I hope that clears the mud a little bit, but you don't need a salesperson to sell either front-end cold traffic pay-per-lead or warm traffic revenue share. I'll tell you just personally, the longer I do this, the more I'd way rather sell warm traffic than cold traffic. Michael says, question for the highly successful and profitable agencies in the group. What's the difference that made to your success? Oh, man, my dude. This is, I think, a misnomer. I had a mentor say this to me. What is like the one thing, I remember asking him, that made you like super successful? And he said, everybody wants it to be one thing, but it's usually like 40 or 50 little things kind of stacked on top of each other. So the more you can have like a bunch of little things going for you, like I'll tell you one of the biggest secrets that not enough people understand in this game that I wish more people understood is the better you are at retention and back end, the more you can pay on the front end. So I'll give you an example of this in a market that is not our own. What's up, Jeremy, my man? So I'll give you an example so you can see this in easy time. So in the beginning, I would talk to a lot of lawyers that were kind of like, in the struggling end of the spectrum, and they would say, I wish I could run TV ads like that big TV lawyer, but he's just got endlessly deep pockets. Well, about a year later, I got to actually be part of some of the biggest masterminds on earth for some of the most successful lawyers. And I got to be in the room with a lot of those TV guys and share insights. And I got to see how they operated. And I'll tell you, one of the interesting things is if a lawyer, a big TV lawyer, if they made $6,000 from a case, which was about average, they were willing to pay $6,000 to go get a $6,000 case. Now, why would somebody in their right mind spend $6,000 to make $6,000? And they said, because we had back-end referral systems. So everybody that came through our office, if we did the system right, they would recommend one or two people to their friends because we followed up with them. In their case, they did a lot of sending newsletters and sending swag. They kept marketing to people long after they were finished being a client. What they found is, on the back end, that $6,000 deal that they didn't make any money from would come with one or two, and the word of mouth was all gravy. So they would break even today in order to make $12,000 tomorrow. And that was their business model. And I realized, watching them spend all this money on TV, is that they were just breaking it even on TV. It wasn't that they had endlessly deep pockets. They just had a better back end. They had better. And so I see this, like a lot of agencies are keeping people 2 to 3 months and then go, I can't afford, or I don't have any money to go get clients. But watch, if those clients stay 5 years, right? Like just say it's $1,000 a month and that person pays you 2 or 3 months. Well, you're keeping $2 to $3 grand, assuming it's all profit, which is probably not. And if you compare that to somebody who keeps them 5 years, even at the same price point, they're going to get it 60 times and they're going to make $60,000. So you know how they can put that first person out of business? They can just spend $3,001 on ads to go get that client. And the other person will say, I can't compete. So this is the secret that I wish more people knew, is that your front end works based on how good your back end is. And the more you do that, the better your whole agency, the better your whole business is going to run. So that's why, I really feel like the secret of the game, if there is a secret, is to get better at keeping people long term, because it'll make magic math happen in your business that you wouldn't get otherwise. Sean says, anyone recommend a VA service answering phones, appointment setting? Our man, Jeff J. Hunter at VA Staffer is probably my favorite for that. So if you're just looking for somebody that comes pre-trained, knowing what to do, systems, processes, reporting, all that, talk to Jeff, because he's got a ton of resources on that. Again, VA Staffer is the name of the company. And they're actually doing some really cool shit with training all their VAs on AI so they can mass produce content and stuff for you too using AI. So he's got some really cool stuff on that. Josh says, social media followers automatically translates to loyal customers. True or false? Tell you a story on that, Josh. So I actually thought this was a fucking joke, but I had a phone call that came to me once, and it said, hey, Dan recommended you. Dan is a friend of mine who's kind of like a prankster. Right? So when he was always he's just kind of a troll sometimes, one of those dudes always pranking you. So when I get a phone call, hey, it's Dan recommended us, immediately I kind of assumed, and the nature of the phone call is the guy called me up and it turned out to be a real phone call. He was from a CPA company. For those of you guys who don't know, they're kind of like pay per lead offers that they sell through these networks, kind of like affiliate stuff. And he said to me, we have this woman here, her name's Amanda, and she is famous for her ass. And so we went on Instagram and looked, and there's a bazillion butt pics of this. And she had between Instagram and
was the other one? Twitter, she was on. She had probably about like legitimate like 250,000 people following her. And what was interesting is what came next is when they said she's never made $1 from her following. She had 250,000 people following her and had never ever made a single fucking cent. So a lot of times people see these big inflated social media accounts and assume that person's making a bazillion. I also know there's some big like CEOs of companies. Like if you go look on YouTube, the CEO of Infusionsoft, at least last I checked, he has a YouTube channel where he like gives everything away for free. Now Infusionsoft is like $1 billion email company, and he's got maybe like 800 fucking followers on YouTube, right? But the thing I want you guys to think about is it's not just about the number of followers, it's about who's following and how engaged those followers are. So in the case of this Amanda, who is famous for her ass, the booty, we ended up trying to launch a butt workout, but it turned out like most of her followers were like 90% horny males, presumably like cock in hand when they were following her, and they weren't looking to buy anything from her, and that's like totally understandable and makes sense. Like it might have made her more sense in her case to just like, you know, pimp some sunglasses and things like that. I didn't really know what to do with it at that time, so I let that deal go. But it showed me more than anything, you can have $250,000 followers and sell shit. And also, like, you can have small followings and have huge monetization. And I'll tell you one of the secrets that I've started focusing on, and this may be useful to those of you guys who are building an audience, is having people with known buying habits in the audience. So if you think about this, like, most of the people in this group came here through my book. It's not the only way people get into the into the funnel. But just so you know, like, a book is not free, right? Like, so just the fact that you bought a book and actually read it, I know you're serious about like actually learning and growing in your agency. I know that you're willing to invest in it. And so like when you come in here, you're a higher caliber, more quality kind of person than just having a lead. And so there's this false notion that like followings and media and like count and all that shit is useful. I've met people who are like have a bazillion likes, but last I checked, I can't pay my bills in likes and comments. I don't know about you guys. So that's my way of saying like having one real legitimate fucking buyer in your audience is having one person follow you who's actually seriously considering doing business with you is better than having 250,000 fucking dudes ready to jerk off to your ass. I know that's a little fucking probably grotesque and a little harsh for a Monday, but I just want you guys to really think about being strategic about this because people get way too caught up in bullshit numbers that don't matter. And one of those to me is like a social media fucking following. Like it doesn't mean shit in and of itself. So focus on the real stuff that matters is are you fucking getting the right people and are you helping them? And are you like monetizing that in a way where you're getting paid to deliver like a high quality, valuable service to them? So anyways, last question we got on the docket. Unless if any of you guys got other questions, now is the time to ask or forever hold your peace. Jody says, this may seem like a stupid question, but do you find a significant difference in cold client acquisition percentages if you initially meet clients in person? So this is a hidden fucking thing, Jody, and this is not a stupid question at all. The opposite, this is actually a really intelligent question. So I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this, but I call it my temperature taking. So there was a time like before we went phoneless, before we closed people without all the calls and stuff, and I used to measure the temperature, and I would just like, this was like not a super like rigid number, but I would just ask myself at the start of this call, how like warm was this person out of 10 on the idea of doing business? And what you'll find, by the way, if you cold message strangers and get them on a call, they're like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, maybe 3 out of 10 on the idea of working together. And you can almost feel it. Their arms crossed, they're negative. They're like, you know, what's this about? Tell me, like, get to the fucking point, right? Like you hear that kind of like resistance in their conversation because at best they're 3 out of 10. And I started to notice that there were certain kinds of prospects that were like 7, 8, 9 of 10. The ultimate example of this, I remember doing a legal speech at a big conference. I think it was the National Trial Lawyers, but I don't remember, to be honest. But anyways, a week later, I got somebody scheduled on my call. It was a lawyer. I can see her name and face in my mind, but I don't remember her name. And this is how the call started. She said, "We saw you speak at blah, 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 and I don't even know what you sell, but I want to buy it." And I went, "Oh, okay." Right? And you almost have to be a dumbass to not, close that deal, right? Because you have to, they're basically telling you, "I'm ready to go. Just give me the details on the offer," right? We already kind of watched you and vetted you, and, we want what you got. So there is a hidden thing in there, this temperature taking, and the longer I do this, I don't talk to anybody who's lower than a 7. I don't think, if they're lower than a 7, I don't think a sales call is the right place to convince them. I usually send them content and tools and videos and resources until they become a 7, and then would like to talk, and then we're talking more about the very serious idea of doing business. I had a period where we were booking a shit ton of calls, and my closing percentages were super low because most of those people were 1, 2, 3 out of 10. And I remember switching to a point where I focused on making people have to jump through hoops based on how serious they were. And I ended up going from 100 calls a month to 6, and I closed almost all of those 6, and I found it actually a better way of doing it. So to your question, if you physically meet somebody in person, will they move up the temperature scale? And the answer is yes. Abso-fucking-lutely they will. And so this is the hidden thing, is that nobody talks about in our industry. There's just all these people shooting their mouths off about booked appointments, motherfucking booked appointments. And they are not all created equal. They can't be, right? For example, let's just say I wanted to break into the motivation market. I'm going to be a personal development. Frankie Finn's going to fire you up. Well, if I got one call with Tony Robbins, would that be a bigger deal on my schedule than having 7 calls with people who go to the local gym that are looking for a little kick in the ass, right? So this idea that all calls are created equal and just get on the phone and talk to as many people, I think that's nonsense. I think one of the best and smartest things you can fucking do in business is begin to value your time enough where you do not talk to anybody who is lower than a 7 about doing some kind of work together collaboration. And what you'll find is you'll get cooler people out of it. The whole business will work better, and you yourself will feel better because you'll start valuing your time. I know everybody else says get on the fucking phone and start selling this shit, but I think that's terrible advice, especially if you don't have unlimited resources. Those of us who have small kids and actually want to see your kids grow up, or even if you don't have kids and you just don't fucking want to, right? That's a good enough reason. It's why talk to everybody? Why try and convince everybody in the world? And this is an interesting thing when you discover is that what we do is it's not the perfect fit for everybody. We're not a Starbucks, mass media, McDonald's where we're trying to get anybody off the street to come in. I always say that most of you guys, to hit your wildest income goals of all time, you're talking 100 clients or less. Most of you guys 10 or 20 clients would hit your goals, but usually not more than 100. So if you're only trying to get 100, focus on getting the right 100 people through the door. Don't focus on all the volume metrics. And there's all kinds of bullshit fucking vanity that people focus on in our space. Number of clicks, number booked appointments, look at me flex, or even signed clients. Signed clients is actually in some ways a vanity metric, because if you sign them and don't keep them, meaning you're getting the wrong people to come into your agency. I see this in the fucking agency space because I get a lot of candid conversations where people reach out to me, and I get messaged by people who go, I signed 12 clients this month. Well, what's the fucking problem? They all left and they all hate me. Right? So it's cool to show off a Stripe screenshot in a group, but in reality, if all those people fucking cancel a month or two later, you're not really fucking winning the game. So that's why I say, you are the fucking chooser, not the chosen. You are the chooser, not the chosen. And one of the worst things you can do, in my opinion, is if you're the fucking chooser, is just jump on the phone with anybody who requests your time and start to go why? What were you hoping to get out of this call? Where are you at in this journey? Tell me a little bit about your situation, and use a little bit of discernment before you get on the phone with anybody. Just that alone will make your life easier. Cole says if you're trying to score 4 TDs in a single game, for poke high, motherfucker. So I know that's a little bit of a rant, but man, I feel like there's I always say that 90% of the agency advice is cold message a bazillion fucking people and jump on calls. And why? Why do you want to jump on calls with people who aren't a fit? My thing is put stuff out there that brings stuff to you, and then use filters to make sure you don't have to talk to anybody who's a 7. And even better if you can sell through video, and even better if you have like salespeople and videos together, so that like you only have to talk to people who are ready to fucking do business with you. Like, your time is fucking valuable. You don't have unlimited, finite, or infinite fucking time on this earth to be jumping on calls, always trying to push your shit on somebody who's not a good fit for it. And you won't, by the way, this is a thing nobody talks about that I see all the time. It's a thing that gets discussed with me behind closed doors. But if you get the wrong people in the machine, meaning like you sign clients, but you sign clients you shouldn't have signed, here's what happens. 2 to 3 months later, they go, give me a fucking refund, you fucking asshole. And then what ends up happening is the next time somebody says, hey, I'm interested in your services, you feel conflict about selling it. You feel conflict about bringing that person in because you're like, this person may just fucking hate me in 2 months right now. Ask me how I know, by the way. So we don't want to create these churn and burn agencies. And the biggest way to get out of the churn and burn is you are the selector. You're not the selected. It's not like some privilege when they choose your SEO company. It's like, I chose you. So it's a little bit of a rant, but I feel like it'll be helpful to you guys to like just up level where you're fucking at with this. Is like, we're not here to be begging for business. Like, we're not a McDonald's, we're not a Starbucks, we're not this mass market thing. You're just trying to get 100 people. Choose the right fucking 100 people. And by the way, almost always you can tell how close you are to choosing the right people based on the internal dialogue. So if your internal dialogue is like, I wish I could get 10 dentists to pay me, that would be really cool. You're in the wrong fucking place. If you're in a place of going like, who would be fucking awesome that I could practically work for free with, and it's just a bonus that I happen to get paid a lot of money for it, the more you start asking yourself a question like that, who would be fucking awesome to work with, that's the better place. I was actually just talking to a guy the other day. We had a little consult, and I remember at the end of it, he was asking me, whatchamacallit, like, which niche should I go in? He was kind of like in a position where he was restarting, and he was thinking about like which one would pay me the most money, and that's usually coming from a place of scarcity and not being the selector but the selected. And I was like, who would be the most fucking fun for you to work with the longest? And we eventually narrowed that down, and I was like, that's your fucking niche. You're gonna have fun doing it, you're gonna like the people, it's gonna pay you good money. Like, don't choose this niche thinking like, I want, hopefully somewhere, I wonder if someone could pay me. That's the selected. The selector is like, these are the coolest fucking people, and the other thing is, when you have cool people in your business, you'll go the extra mile for them, not because you're getting paid for it, because you want to, because they're your kind of people. Like, it's amazing to me, like, a lot of times, like, you guys message me, and like right before I'm going to bed, kids are asleep, it's 9 o'clock, and I'm returning messages, not because anybody's making me return messages. I just fucking like you guys. You're just really fucking cool. So the secret thing is what I call MKP, which stands for my kind of people. If you can build your business out of my kind of people, whoever my kind of people is for you, you'll be more successful at it and for longer. And the business, the challenges will be less like life-threatening, in the sense that, like, I remember, like, when I hated my clients, my first agency, I hated pretty much like 90% of my clients. And so what ended up happening is anytime they wanted to talk, I didn't want to talk. Anytime they asked me to do shit, I didn't really want to do it. And all that stuff. As we're now, it's the opposite. Like, they're my people. So I'm thinking about, like, how can I actually help my people fucking win? And I play offense on that. I don't wait for them to, like, hey, can we have a meeting? And I want to bitch about this thing. And so who are the MKP for you? Because if you can nail that, like, everything that comes after is, and this is not just true, by the way, of like clients. This is true of your staff. This is true of your managers. This is true of your partners. This is true of like everybody you collaborate with in business. If you're not thinking about MKP all the way through the whole thing. So to answer the original question asked is, does meeting people face to face help? And the answer is yes, because it enhances like real relationships, which is the actual game. So hope that's helpful for you. Those of you guys missed the beginning, I don't have anything like to specifically offer to you, but I wanted to let you guys know some stuff that's coming in the pipeline inside of the Wolfpack. We're working on 2 kind of done for you things that we're beta testing. One of those is the content factory of you sit down for an hour a month answer some questions. We give you the questions, and then you have content for a month, and it's a pull mechanism that gets people reaching out to you saying, I'm interested in working with you because they found one of your, 67 videos you put out that month, even though you actually only recorded one. A lot of times people think I make a lot of video, but I just have really good processes to batch produce and batch edit them. In fact, sometimes if you actually pay attention to it, you'll see that I change shirts in the middle of the filming because I don't want it to look like I just batch recorded them all at once. But I did, just so you know. So we're building that out so that you guys just have to focus on just being a helpful resource to your audience. That's one thing we're building out. We're building out what I call shoe store outreach, which is, like I said, it's a difference between, instead of chasing one dentist one-to-one like everybody else does, we're going after all the people who already control all the dentists. The guy who puts on the biggest dental conference, the guy who's got the biggest dentist podcast, the guy who sells them all the equipment and makes all the chairs, the guy who makes all the swag for dentists, the guy who builds 1,000 dental websites a year. We're connecting with the partners, and we're helping the partners, and it creates this big inbound referral machine when you do it correctly. And the cool thing is you can actually blow up this kind of business with just one partner, for real. You can do $1 million a year with one fucking partner, and I'll tell you how I know that because I've done it. We're helping people to build that up, and the biggest way you can get partners to become on your side is you just do cool shit for them. You just literally just help them out. You don't ask for it. You don't get on a call. You just like say a guy's making a podcast, you make a campaign to help their podcast, and then you just go, dude, I made this for you, right? It makes the outreach so much easier because instead of trying to sell them something, you're just trying to give them stuff. You're just constantly giving and adding value to those people. But the flip side of that is it's work. And so what we're doing is beta testing, having VAs follow process to do that work for the influencers in your industry, so that you just got to show up and talk to them after you've already helped them 5 times. When I say you, I mean the VAs have already done it for you. And then you're just you're already the king shit. You've already helped the conference guy 4 or 5 times. And usually the conversations go man, you've been so helpful. What can I do for you? And you say, hey, I'd really like to get in front of the people. I sell dental SEO, and you know all the dentists. Is there a way we can create something valuable that we can put in front of them? That kind of thing. So that's the other piece we're building. And then as well, for those of you guys who are generating leads for clients and they're telling you the leads are bad, we're building. I shouldn't say we're building. We have 2 people who've already built call centers for their own agencies, but what we're doing now is we're testing right now. We're beta testing. Can we expand on this and lease this as a service to agency owners so that you guys can offer closed appointments for your clients? Because what we usually find is a dentist sucks at answering the phone, but they're not so bad in person. So if you generate a call, you can actually have it go to the call center. The call center will book them in and actually put that person into the dental office, and then they come in with their scheduled appointment, and your client doesn't have to answer the phone, meaning you don't lose the clients bitching about the leads because they actually close them and they see business out of it. So we're beta testing doing that for $10-15 a call per scheduled appointment. And so for those of you guys, especially if you have a high-end niche and you want them to stay and pay for a while, we may, depending on how the beta test goes, mass roll that out so that you guys can offer this to your clients. We've tried just about everything on that, go high level, texting, blah, 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 and there's nothing works as well as just take it out of your fucking client's hand and give it to a trained person that only knows how to close calls and is actually incentivized to close calls. So we'll be talking more about that in the upcoming weeks, depending on how that goes. And just want to let you guys know that's something that you guys can potentially offer. For now, that's all this old dad's got right here, the world's best dad. Why? Because I got it as a Father's Day gift, and it's true because the hat says it's true. And also want to give a big shout out to Lana for my cup, the old Frankie Finn face on the mug, and also to Ilka B. It's funny because I'm not actually a coffee drinker. I got the best dad ever. And I also got my 2 little girls on cup. So I don't drink coffee, but I got coffee cups, so I drink my green juice out of it. So much love for you guys, and appreciate you guys, and may the force be with you. Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll probably also like our free Facebook group, Beyond Agency Profits, Agency Lifestyle Design. You can get free copies of the book inside here. I look ridiculous. We're doing weekly Q&As, giving answers to all your questions. Some of the best, smartest, brightest people. We've got lots of industry leaders doing 7, 8 figures and beyond. It's a literal who's who of the brightest agency owners that I know, as well as lots of tips on scaling and stuff, books that work. So if you're not already part of it, you're going to want to be part of it. So make sure to click the link. I put it in the description of the video as well as in the pinned top comment below. So just scroll down and you can join, and it's totally free.